Hello, and welcome to the Erie County District Attorney's Office weekly YouTube video that I do here in my office in Buffalo, New York, every week, where I provide you, the viewers out there, with information regarding criminal justice issues, not only here in Buffalo, New York, but all across the state of New York and this country. One of the real silent killers, and I use that phrase silent killers in the sense that it's certainly not silent to the families of the loved ones and the individuals who lost their lives due to the opioid crisis over the past few years, but it's silent in the sense that, during COVID, that dominated the news. The COVID-related deaths, everything dealing with COVID from 2020 through up until last year, pretty much dominated the news as far as us in the United States here having a public health crisis. But what did not get a lot of media attention, and was in fact, in my opinion, silent during that whole time. And again, I'm not blaming anyone for the silence. Obviously, COVID was a very devastating epidemic in our lives as well. But the silence of the number of opioid deaths that occurred in this country and here in Buffalo, New York, and in Erie County, New York, was awful, quite frankly. I mean, not only was the silence of it awful, but the numbers were awful. We here in this country saw a dramatic increase in the number of opioid-related deaths from 2014 up and through 2016, and they kind of pretty much hit their peak level, not only here in Erie County, Buffalo, New York, but across the country in 2016. Then the good news was that in 2016 they started going down. In 17 they went down. In 18 they went down. In 2019 went down. And we as a society seem to be making some headway on this tragic loss of life and basic not only loss of life but just drug abuse, dealing with opioids in our society. Then came COVID, and obviously COVID had an impact on all of our lives on many different levels. One of the levels, unfortunately, was the use of opioids and the continued increase in opioids and the deaths related to opioids, especially fentanyl. Synthetic fentanyl went up dramatically in 2020, 21, and in 22. And as National Black Ballooon Day approaches, I want to reflect on the opioid epidemic here in Erie County. Black Ballooon Day is Monday, March 6th of this year, 2023. And as we remember those who lost their lives and encourage those who are struggling with substance abuse who seek help. That is what I'm trying to do here in Erie County. National Black Ballooon Day commemorates all who have died from an overdose. Every year, as I said, on March 6th, black balloons are placed outside of homes and businesses to symbolize the impact of addiction on individuals, their families, and the community. To date, the Erie County Department of Health has confirmed that 287 people have died from an opioid-related overdose in 2022. Currently, 28 additional deaths are under investigation for suspected overdose. One life lost as a result of an overdose is a tragedy. After 301 people died from an opioid-related overdose death in 2016, I helped establish the first ever opioid court intervention court in our country here in Buffalo, New York. This one-of-a-kind program diversion court within Buffalo City Court was created to combat the rising heroin epidemic by putting criminal proceedings on hold to ensure that a defendant struggling with opioid addiction received immediate drug intervention treatment. Since the establishment of the Opioid Diversion Court and enhanced efforts to increase public awareness about the dangers of heroin, fentanyl, and other opioids, the number of opioid-related deaths in Erie County began to decrease, as I said. Sadly, however, since the start of COVID, the numbers have increased. I remain committed to fighting the opioid epidemic in Western New York as we mourn all who have died from substance abuse. I encourage anyone who is struggling with addiction to seek treatment, warning that fentanyl-laced drugs have contributed to a significant spike in overdoses in Erie County and throughout the country. Anyone seeking help is encouraged to contact the 24-hour addiction hotline at area code 716-831-7007. Counselors are available to provide immediate support, information, and referrals for those struggling with addiction. I also want to remind residents that anyone can anonymously provide information to assist my office in the prosecution of drug dealers and other efforts to stop dangerous substances from continuing to poison our people in our community. Anyone with information at all can contact the Erie County DA's office at area code 716-858-2424 or anonymously report a tip to Crime Stoppers of Western New York at www.crimestopperswesternnewyork, that's WYN.org. The Erie County Opioid Epidemic Task Force will host Remembrance on Sunday, March 5th at 1 p.m. at the Buffalo Historical Museum. For more information on how to obtain addiction treatment support, Narcan and fentanyl test strips, visit www.erie.gov/health/opioid-epidemic-task-force. And we here in Western New York, all of us on the task force, in law enforcement, in county government, are here to help this community. Thank you, and see you next week.